Welcome to my cultural and diversity project about Asian Japanese American culture. I hope you enjoy. Japan is known as the island nation with 4 main islands that make up 97% of the country, plus 4,000 smaller islands. The islands are throughout the Pacific Ocean, around China, Korea, and Russia. The country is made up of very mountainous terrain with volcanoes and dense forests. Because of this, much of the population has stayed on the coast, the habitable regions. Japan has one of the world's highest life expectancies and lowest infant mortality rates. The main ethnic group in the country are Ainu and Ryukyuan. The educational system in Japan is very competitive. Japanese children have a drive to do well because it reflects better on their families. They always want to bring honor to their parents and grandparents. Because of this, 75% of children graduate high school and attend college. There are some major businesses that come out of Japan. Cars like Toyota and Honda, technology companies such as Canon, Sony Panasonic, and Sharp. One of my favorite things to come out of Japan is Nintendo. In addition to these large businesses, they conduct a lot of scientific research with technology and machinery. Japan runs on a mandatory universal healthcare system. Every citizen is required to gain insurance by either their employer, the national system, or the elderly insurance. They even encourage foreigners that are visiting to sign up for the national insurance option. However, that is not a requirement for them to stay in the country. The premiums that people pay for medical care is based on income and cost sharing. This is basing what you pay on your ability to pay it, much like our Medicaid share of cost program. There is an exception for those under the poverty line. It is free for the people on the welfare system. The main religions of the Japanese people are Buddhist and Shintoism, Buddhism being just below 70%. Religious objects may be utilized for prayer or meditation. When a person is ill, a Buddhist monk or priest is invited in to offer assistance and support the sick individual and their families. End-of-life care is different than traditional Western medicine. It is imperative that we know the cultural backgrounds so we can provide appropriate care to those with differing beliefs than us. Buddhists prefer to be left alone with their dying family member, having as little commotion as possible. This aids in the soul leaving the body. Healthcare workers are not allowed to touch the body until the family says they can, so as to not disturb the descent of the body. Buddhists believe in spiritual peace when you have reached awakening to Buddha's wisdom, and this in turn promotes healing and recovery. There are some branches of Buddhism that have strict dietary regulations, such as vegetarian, but others don't have any. Many adhere to a diet of moderation. It is always important to ask your patient what modifications they follow. There are no regulations on medications for this group of people. However, anything that alters the mind might be avoided. This could be a barrier to enlightenment. Anything leading to extremes should be avoided. Anything that prolongs life, such as blood transfusions, amputations, transplants, or biopsies, are encouraged and may lead to further enlightenment of the person. When all avenues to keep an individual alive have been exhausted, euthanasia may be an option. This could aid in organ donation, which could lead to another person's prolonged life to get closer to enlightenment. The body is a shell, with the soul being a separate entity, so disposal and autopsies become personal preference. They have funerals at the temple, followed by a small, short graveside service. Many people utilize cremations. Shamans originated in the postmodern era of Japan, mainly in the outlying areas and islands. The shaman Tomitomo was credited with removing smallpox in the nation and later had a shrine dedicated to him for that. Records show that the main job of the shamans were to protect the health of the emperor. Many shamans participated in rituals, but some did not have the same skills as others did, such as males and females having differing skills. In the modern era, this type of healing was discounted, and those that carried out magico-religious rituals while communicating with gods and demons were suppressed. The shamans that continued to practice were persecuted, and many people converted to Buddhism. Only Shinto were allowed to perform rituals to protect the people. Traditional medicine was virtually replaced by Western medicinal ideas. Even though shamans were looked down upon, some continued to practice in outlying areas and various small islands. They performed things such as exorcisms and purifications. Shamans are still sometimes consulted when serious illnesses arise. Shamans will treat by identifying the reason for the illness. The reasons that people came into bad health were thought to be because someone placed a curse on them. These curses can either be inherited by ancestors or placed on someone by another person. The people afflicted by these curses are seen as dirty or unclean. This is also associated with a woman's menstrual cycle. Women that are menstruating are not even allowed to be in sacred areas such as the temples. The exorcism consists of a 3-step ritual over the course of 3 days. The first step is to make little boats out of straw to carry the curses out to sea. The second step is repeatedly reciting ritual texts, and the third step is placing straw figurines into the straw boats and sending them out to sea. These magical rituals are still done today to prevent and protect people from illnesses. Gargling with a solution is thought to come from a magical ritual from Japan. Even in the modern era during the swine flu epidemic, modern doctors commended people for gargling with disinfectant, even though it wasn't shown to be helpful in the prevention of the illness. They thought this was protecting the body from being unclean. For the Japanese people, life expectancy is high, being an average of 84.46 years old. Men tend to live to be 80 years old, and women tend to live until 87 years old. There are 127.3 million Japanese people. The leading cause of death under 30 years old is from suicide. This is thought to be from the rigorous expectations about schooling and careers that are put onto the young people. Infant mortality is one of the lowest in the world, being 2.13 per 1,000 live births. The death of children under 5 is also low, being 3 per 1,000 children. They have 2.29 physicians per 1,000 people, and they have 11.48 nurses per 1,000 people. Fertility is fairly high, being 1.4 children per woman. Contraception is used in just over 54% of women ages 20 to 49. HIV has a low prevalence, 0.1% of the country, and employment is 7.9%. One of the major health disparities for Japanese people is the same as all other people: low income. Low income is associated with poor health outcomes. Poverty reduces the ability to afford medicine, buy sufficient amounts of healthy food, and afford high-quality health care. This is also associated with higher rates of obesity, smoking, and lower instances of physical activity. Income and health are hugely related, not only for Japan, but for every person in the world. Smoking has been an issue for Japanese men for quite some time now. People are calling for the tobacco prices to rise, hoping that will reduce the amount of people that smoke and therefore decreasing many of the diseases that go along with smoking. There is a call to raise education about the risks of smoking and diet to reduce many of these diseases that ail the Japanese people. The high standards of the educational system is said to have an impact on the younger generation, causing depression and suicidal thoughts. This is why they think the highest risk for death under 30 is suicide. The nurse's role for caring for the Japanese people are not different than caring for other people. We can be sensitive to their differences, but take care of them the same way we would any others. As people and nurses, we hold on to a certain set of beliefs that we gleaned throughout our life. We cannot allow for erroneous beliefs to be passed on to our patients. These beliefs could be conscious or unconscious, which is why we focus our practice on things evidence-based. At this moment, there is a lack of research on health beliefs of nurses. We need to dig deeper into this and make it something we focus on in order to get more information about it. Understanding the effects of culture as it relates to one's diet can be helpful in educating patients on nutritious eating. We can also help to teach the benefits of a balanced diet on the body. One study surveyed nurses from different countries and found that many nurses gave nutritional education based on personal experiences rather than evidence-based research. There are many changes in our world, and when we can effectively collaborate interprofessionally, we can better manage unmet health needs of our patients. One study states that if we do this, it, quote, necessitates good communication patterns, appropriate power dynamics, and an understanding of the roles and responsibilities of different healthcare staff, unquote. It is important to always have an open communication line with your patient and to ask them what they prefer in certain situations. We will never know if we don't ask. Even if there are certain things that Japanese or Buddhists follow, our patient might or might not have a different way of doing it. Keep that communication line open and always ask, especially if you're not sure. Encouraging your patient to speak up about what their beliefs are and what they need in terms of their health. We have to be the advocate for our patients throughout their healthcare stay. Educating our patients is a key role that nurses have, no matter their belief system. We can do so with an emphasis on evidence-based practice while also being sensitive to their cultural preferences. My reference page. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you learned some new things and enjoyed yourself.